Thank you, and thank you for the invitation. It's great to come here once a year because, I've been doing this FX business now for nearly 30 years. And in the early years, most of my clients, or many of my clients, were from the edible oils industry. So I'm meeting people who I've known a long, long time, don't meet very often. It's a real pleasure. Now, that was very interesting, by the way, Dr. Fry, whatever you are. Thank you very much. Because I personally also share your view that, petroleum prices have to go down, perhaps substantially. And I think the impact will be much, much wider than just in this market. But leaving that aside, the reason I'm here is because I'm supposed to know about the rupee. Now, people who've known me a long time know I never make forecasts, but now I'm getting a little older, so, I step out a little bit more. So what I'd like to talk about is, the rupee, of course, but in three pieces. One, theoretically, what is the correct value for the rupee? The second is, what is all the madness that happened over the last, let us say, 2-3 months? We went to nearly 69, we've come back, and swinging, and it's a real party. And finally, I'll briefly tell you what I think is going to be the range for the future. Now, the first thing, we are all in markets, and while it's sort of fun to try to forecast what is the right value, we all also know there is no correct value for any market asset. Despite that, the analysts like myself, I guess like Dr. Fry, we work on it, like Reserve Bank think about it all the time, where if we were in a perfect world, where would the rupee be? As I said, there is no perfect world, but if you go back to, I think it was 2009, or perhaps 2010, I can't remember, that's not relevant. The rupee was in June, July, August, the rupee was moving between 45 and 46.50. But during that period, the exports were growing by more than 30%. Imports were growing by more than 30%. Growth was about 8%. Inflation was a little high, but this is India. We understand our inflation is higher than global. So to my mind, that was pretty close to a perfect world, right? Everybody was doing well. Nobody was complaining. Both sides of the fence were making a lot of money. So I would say, if there were such a thing as the right value for rupee, at that point in time, I would say 45 to 47 was the correct value for the rupee because it was taking care of everybody's issues. So if that were correct, right now, let's go from there to now. What has happened between here and now? Well, the first thing is huge amounts of events globally, right? The European crisis, this, that, and the other. But let us assume that the DXY, the dollar index, one of the most liquid markets in the world, sort of captured all of those movements. So the first thing I did was I took that 45, 46 level and discounted it for the dollar index up to today. And the second thing is we all know that we talked already about inflation, that export competitiveness is over time constrained by higher inflation. So the second discounting factor I used was the inflation differential. This is also what Reserve Bank uses when they talk about the real effective exchange rate, etc. And if we were to discount that 45, 46 rupees of the dollar by these two factors, which is the dollar index and the inflation differential, today, I think the dollar index is about 80.3 or something like that. Today we would be at about 56 to 57 rupees per dollar. So theoretically speaking, and I underlined that several times, theoretically speaking, the level of 56 to 57 to the dollar would be the correct value for the rupee. Now if you distill that into the business world, actually it seems to fit. Most exporters are very competitive at maybe 58. I remember when the rupee hit 62 on the way down, about 3 weeks, 4 weeks ago, I got a call from the CFO of a multi-billion-dollar manufacturing company. And he said, Chairman wants to sell 3 years exports. And I said, hey, Baba, calm down. We've all learned that if you sell too far forward, you get into trouble. But he said, no, the chairman is very insistent. They didn't do it, that's another story. But what that told me is that now the guy is not the chairman of a multi-billion-dollar company because he's not smart. He's obviously a very smart guy. But he could see that 3 years forward, 70 rupees, he was hugely profitable. There was no way his costs would rise by anywhere near that much. So clearly he was profitable about 54, 55 at that, maybe 56, 57 at that time. On the flip side, you look at Indian manufacturers who are competing with Chinese manufacturers. 58, and they are delighted. The Chinese are priced out of the market. Of course, China has its own price rises also. So that would suggest that, 56, 57, 58 perhaps would be a reasonable value, correct value for the rupee today. But of course, as we know, that's just all talk, because the rupee is nothing, right? I mean, what happened is, as we saw, it was very exciting time for the last 3-4 months. And I'll tell you some nice stories about that. As we know, starting from May, when Mr. Bernanke first signaled that he was going to tighten or stop the completely free money that was available, everything went ahead, all over the world. India, of course, was affected more dramatically. I mean, there's many reasons for that. I mean, the primary reason is, there are a lot, we talk about current account deficit, fiscal deficit, etc., but those are actually also only symptoms. The primary reason is it's by all of our fault, because we have allowed, and not just for the last 5 years, but the last 45 years, we have allowed governments to remain in place who are not doing their job. Right? So the real problem is governance failure. Right? And that's obvious. No, but don't clap, Babu, you have to do something about it. I mean, the reality is we're all busy making money. I mean, what we really should be doing is we should be citizens. Whoever our MP is, whoever our MLA is, we should be on that tail continuously. Unfortunately, democracy is a full-time job. Anyway, I'll get to that lecture another time. Let's get back to the rupee, okay? So I'm saying that we have had very bad governance. It's gotten even worse recently, to be fair. And as a result, we've had all of these problems. Our current account deficit swelled, much more than other countries. And so when the music stopped, as they say, or when there was a threat that the market would, that the rupee would, where the money would be turned off, the rupee just went way down, right? Now, part of it also, and frankly, all of us here are also responsible because, we are all been rolling over our import payments because, it was cheaper, right? Apparently cheaper to take buyer's credit and not hedge because you could make more money. I understand that many people that would always trade, you really need to do that. But net, so what was happening is when things started to move, there was excess demand sitting there of the buyer's credit that had been rolled over. So the rupee started falling and falling and falling. Reserve Bank, and frankly, while Dr. Rajiv, who is coming, has got lots of praise, I would like to really state, unequivocally, that I believe that Subbarao did a great job too. I think he's a really smart man, very gentle, so that's a separate thing. But they were trying, ultimately what India needs, India is a poor country. What the number one problem that the central bank has to fix or work on consistently is inflation. So interest rates will always be higher than any of us want. But I think that's just a fact of life. We have to live with it. So RBI tried all sorts of things to try to prop it up. And frankly, during that week, those 2 weeks, I was in touch with them 3 times a day, I'm very close to them. And I'll tell you, one day I went to see the governor. Private visit, my daughter was with me. We were talking on various things. And I told him, sir, pick up the phone right now and cut interest rates by 1%. Right? Because at that time, I had written a column which was called Vitamin G. G for growth. Because see, the real problem, I think again, and again I blame all of us for it, is that we had got into such a funk on sentiment. For the last 2 years, every businessman who talked to said, the world is falling apart, the sky is falling, we're never going to get out of it, nobody is investing, nothing, And I'm saying we had got into such a negative sentiment, which was really making the situation worse than it was. So So what I felt is what we needed was a little vitamin C, a little growth. They cut interest rate by 1%. What he did the next day was raise interest rates. So it shows you, and frankly, as I look back on it, I think he was correct and I was wrong. It shows you how much influence I had, you know. But anyway, the fact is, they tried what they could to try to protect the rupee, and it just kept falling. It was a losing battle, you know. My feeling was they should have just let go. And I remember in the last episode, which was I think 2011, I was talking to Subir Bokar at that time, Deputy Governor at that. And he told me, look, you know, rupee fell by 18%. We tried intervening and doing this and doing that. And in the meantime, South African rand, where they didn't do anything, fell by 20%. So maybe if we hadn't wasted our reserves, we wouldn't have fallen that much more. So, and my sense was that, you know, you're trying to, by your emergency measures, you're actually fanning the flames, right? The situation is, everyone is seeing that the emperor has no clothes. So I felt they should really let it be, because who is going to invest when the rupee is falling? But once the rupee hits, you know, some level, whatever level it might be, money would pour in. I mean, I've been talking lots of seminars, and people ask me, where will you put your money today? On one seminar, somebody asked on a 5-year basis. Before he finished his question, I said rupees. 3-year basis, rupees. 2-year basis, probably rupees. 1-year basis is the trick, always, right? You never know what's going to happen in the short term. But if you're getting 8-9%, I mean, that's a pretty good return. So, you know, that week when the rupee really went to hell, it went to 68, 85, it was very, I believe, frankly, that I had a significant role in the turnaround. And I'll tell you the story. I was going to London for a family wedding, and my wife and I were at the airport on Tuesday night. And like when I got to the airport, I discovered, the fool that I am, that my visa had expired. My wife left, and I was just terrified. You know, I had to go there. I wanted to go, and I went home. I was miserable. You know, I had to fill out that long online form. I did that, and the next day, you know, I went to the office to get all the papers. I realized there was a bit of a problem because my passport only had one page. I had to pay a lot of money to get a visa in one day, and I may not get it. And then I relearned something that I should never have forgotten, which is there's almost nothing in the world that cannot be solved with a couple of gin and tonics. So I saw the rupee falling, but I said, the hell with this. I went out to have lunch with a friend, I had a couple of gin and tonics. I went and had a massage, and then I went to the US Club for a walk. You know, and I looked at the sky, and it was gorgeous. You know, it was like the end of monsoon sunset. And looking at it, I felt like I was seeing God. And God, or whatever it was, told me, and I had sensed this, that the rupee has fallen too far. So from the US Club, while I was walking, I called the Deputy Governor of Reserve, and he said, we were talking a lot, and he said, don't worry, tomorrow it will turn, and when it turns, you please sell dollars. And then I sent an SMS to about 35 big traders, right? Bankers, Reliance, with a simple comment saying, big selling wave tomorrow? Question mark. And I let it be. And sure enough, the rupee turned that very day, although to be honest, it had already turned because of the window that the government, RBI opened for oil companies. But that was, you know, my role in bringing the rupee back, right? Now I think you know, so it came back, and slowly, I think, you know, Dr. Rajan came in after that with a lot of energy on his first speech. Incidentally, on that, I'd like to say, you know, markets are funny animals. It was so extraordinary on Thursday when Mr. Bernanke stood up, right, and he said, you know, the US economy is not doing as well as I thought. And all markets went up. I couldn't understand it, right? I mean, he said, basically said, I'm not going to reduce my bond buying, but why? Because things are not good. And what was extraordinary, everybody bought assets, right? Which makes it clear that, you know, it's all, I mean, there's nothing real. You know, there's nothing real in that last draft. And so too, yesterday, when Dr. Rajan said, hey, you know, I'm actually going to, he said, He said almost exactly what he said when he came in, that I'm going to focus on inflation. And he raised interest rates. Boom, people sold out. Now, I think actually he's going to be great for us because A, he is going to, no question, people are talking about Paul Volcker, I mean, that's crazy. But he's not going to let inflation go on. But equally, he's going to be very liberal about deregulation. When he first came in, he allowed importers to book and cancel on the very first day he started. So I think, but that's, I was talking to, you know, large company entrepreneur the other day saying the same thing. See, but that's what we need. We need somebody who can impose discipline and be liberal, right? Now, that's, if we can get that, I think we're going to be